it's Lorie Brown, and welcome to COVID-19 Survival Guide for Nurses and Healthcare Professionals. And today we have a really special guest, Anne Grier. Anne is a nurse and a mother, and when her children were babies, they weren't sleeping at night, and she was frustrated because she wasn't getting enough sleep and able to be her best. So what did she do? She became a sleep expert. So I'm excited to have you here. Welcome, Anne.
Thanks for having me, Lorie. I'm excited to be here.
And given all the stress of what's going on and nurses work crazy hours anyways, how can they get the sleep that they so badly need and deserve?
Yeah, well, first I just want to thank all the nurses for all the work they're putting in, and the time and hours and stress they're putting on themselves is, so appreciated by all of us. So I am a nurse. I just haven't worked in the hospital setting in quite a while, but I remember it, although I have no idea how stressful it must be right now. But it is super important that any nurse comes home and is able to then decompress and get a good night's sleep. So that's what I'd love to just give a few tips about the best ways to do that.
That would be great. But let's talk first about how you became a sleep expert. You said your babies weren't sleeping at night?
Oh, yes, sure. Yeah. So when I was a new mom, I feel like my first child actually slept okay, but then my second and third were really not very good sleepers. And then also having a toddler, I was exhausted. I felt irritable. I knew they should be sleeping. So I just started reading a couple different books about sleep. And then I actually took a course Kim West is known as the sleep lady. I took her course and became certified as a gentle sleep coach, it's called. And so I was able to, through her methods, get my own children to sleep and then start my own business to help other families get their children to sleep. So pretty much ages 4 months to about 6 years is what I worked with. And then I just was finding also parents were stressed and not sleeping themselves. So I wanted to then move on, and that's now what I do as a health coach, is I help primarily women, but learn how to get their own good restorative sleep, because it's so important for all parts of life and health.
And I know during this crisis, even I've been stressed and haven't been able to sleep well and wake up at night worried or scared and I can't imagine what nurses on the front line are going through.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're all struggling with many things we typically maybe take for granted, and sleep, I think, is certainly one of them.
Yeah. So what tips do you have that can help, nurses and healthcare professionals during this difficult time?
Yeah, well, the main thing is that I really want nurses to be able to, when they leave their job, which is obviously very stressful. So when we're experiencing stress, our nervous systems are really in our sympathetic nervous system. So we want to be able to get home and switch more to our parasympathetic, right? So if we remember, the neurology is that when we're in our sympathetic nervous system, that really is the fight or flight, and our cortisol levels are very high at that time. So likely these nurses, or you as nurses, I guess I'm speaking directly to you, are probably having high cortisol levels your entire 8 or 12-hour shift. So when we get home, I would love to be able to help you to switch out of your sympathetic nervous system and get those cortisol levels to lower back down, so that we can get into a parasympathetic nervous system, which is our rest and digest, and then you should be able to sleep much better. If you stay in the sympathetic, if your cortisol stays high, you're not going to be able to sleep. Mm-hmm. So a couple ideas I have is, really, of course, you're going to be curious about maybe what's happening beyond the hospital. So I would just recommend maybe a quick check-in on what's happening in the news, but not consuming it.
Yeah, what I say is I'm on a news-free diet, and I take it in small bites.
Right. Otherwise, so let's stick with that. Just a quick find out, maybe something you missed during your shift. And then, maybe also a quick check-in with some family members, but again, just not spending too much time doing a lot of that stuff, because we want to bring our nervous systems back to the parasympathetic. So certainly some type of, like, an hour before sleep, I usually recommend getting rid of the phone altogether, like turning it off, putting it in a separate room, that kind of thing, about an hour before sleep. And then I think you said you had someone mention the blue light blocking glasses. So what's
Yeah.
great about those is that they do help your body bring on its own melatonin excretion. So those are great because as melatonin comes up, cortisol will come down. And if we can't get cortisol to come down, then our melatonin won't come up. So we do really want, I think you said that was mentioned, so I certainly would recommend that as well. For that reason, we will really want our melatonin excretion to be working for us. If we're not having that happen, then that is something you could experiment with talking to your doctor about, or doing a little bit of supplementation of melatonin and just see how it works with you. You can start super low and it's, gentle, and maybe it doesn't work, but if you feel like you are needing it, that's something you could try.
Yeah, I've tried this supplement called Calm.
Yeah, so Calm is a magnesium. So that was the next thing I'd recommend is like an Epsom salt bath, which is
the Calm Sleep has the melatonin in it too.
Oh, it does. Great. Okay, so that's something else you could try. And then an Epsom salt bath is something else I'd recommend because it has the magnesium and it's very calming to the nervous system. So those are a couple different ideas I had. If you feel like your thoughts are really racing from the day, I'd really try to get them out on a journal because you just don't want them kind of spinning through your head and then you're not able to let them go and calm and release and be able to go to sleep and have a good restorative night of sleep. We really want you to have a full, good restorative night of sleep with REM sleep and deep sleep. So that's super important for your immune system. So we really want that to be happening for you.
I remember when I was a nurse, I would wake up thinking, did I document that? Did I give that med? And it is tough.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you feel like that's happening in your brain, have a notepad next to your bed so that you can just close the loop, as they say, like in your brain, it's sort of loop, it's going around and around. If you write it down, it often mentally closes your loop. And so then it's less likely to keep spinning. And then in the morning, you can say, oh, did I give that med? We'll check it today, right? So you didn't have to lose sleep over it. It's something you can revisit.
Okay. And what if you wake up in the middle of the night? How do you get back to sleep?
Yeah, so I have seen some different suggestions where you should get up and do something and go back. I usually would recommend doing a few different things. Like you could try some different calming techniques as far as some breath work, which I believe you said you spoke to someone about that. Is that correct?
Yes.
So,
yeah, but I don't know what order they may be watching these in. So.
Oh, okay. So,
eat anything.
Yeah, I don't have a specific off the top of my head. There are a couple different ones you could certainly do, but some different breath work would be helpful. Often just doing, I know often yoga teachers recommend doing legs up the wall. That's very restful and restorative. And sometimes you just need to do that for 10 minutes and then try to go back to sleep. Again, if it's a mental thing where your brain is spinning with thoughts, then I would write some stuff down. Those are the main tips for the middle of the night.
Those are great. Thank you. Any suggestions for a nurse who's works night shift to get to sleep in the day?
Yeah, the night shifts are tougher because they do really, the circadian rhythm gets disrupted. So definitely on the off days, trying to stick with the circadian rhythm that our bodies are used to. And then on the shift work nights, trying to at least time your meals so that trying to do them still within their circadian rhythm of your meals. So try to kind of have your meal still like midnight would be sort of your lunch, and then do you know what I mean? So your meals would occur, but flipped.
Right.
So the breakfast dinner would be similar, but then the lunch would be like on the opposite side of the 24 hours. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So then at least in your brain, it's not as, but it is really hard on your system, the night shift work. Yeah, particularly because of the melatonin. So right when one recommendation I've heard, I don't know for sure how well it works, but is to kind of go right into a dark room when you get home from the night shift so that you don't get a lot of sun, so then your body's even more confused. But then when you wake up, say at 3 or 4 p.m., if you're sleeping then that would be the time to go out and get the sun if possible, if you're in the climate that allows it.
Okay, well, great. So how can people learn more about what you do?
Yeah, so my website is Anne Grier Health, and they're welcome to come check that out. I offer consultations, health consultations. Mostly, I would be happy to work with any nurses that that are feeling like they need to work on their sleep, work on what their how they're eating, nutrition's going, their stress, all that. It's all part of your lifestyle that affects your health. So I'd be happy to chat with any nurses about that, and offer 50% off of my my normal rate, because I just really appreciate what everyone's doing, what all nurses are doing right now.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being here, and thank you so much for your tips. We appreciate it. And
You're
to
so
all the
welcome.
nurses and listeners out there, thank you. Thank you for all you do. Thank you for your hard work. Thank you for being the heroes during this time. We love you. We appreciate you, and hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, feel free to share this series with anybody you know who could benefit from it. Everybody could use a good night's sleep. So they can register at empowerednurses.org/COVID. And thank you again, Anne.
You're so welcome. Thank you, Lorie, for putting this
Thanks.
all together.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, and I'm so grateful that everybody has so graciously agreed to give their time to help all the nurses out there. So, all right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.